Thomas and friends, making tracks to great destinations.
Dear Christopher, here is your friend Thomas the Tank Engine. He wanted to come out of his station yard and see the world. These stories tell you how he did it. I hope you will like them, because you helped me to make them. Your loving Daddy.
The island of Sodor is surrounded by beautiful blue sea. It has fields of green and sandy yellow beaches. There are rivers, streams, and lots of trees where the birds sing. There are windmills and a coal mine, and docks where visitors to the island arrive. The island also has lots and lots of railway lines. Who's that puffing down the track? It's Thomas! Hello, Thomas! Hello, everybody! Welcome to the island of Sodor. Today on the island of Sodor, we find out what happens when and we watch but first,
Toby and Henrietta were enjoying their new job on the island of Sodor, but they do look old-fashioned and did need new paint. James was very rude whenever he saw them. Yuck! What dirty objects, he would say. At last, Toby lost patience. James, he asked, why are you red? I am a splendid engine, answered James, ready for anything. You never see my paint dirty. Oh, said Toby innocently, that's why you once needed bootlaces, to be ready, I suppose. James went redder than ever and snorted off. It was such an insult to be reminded of the time a bootlace had been used to mend a hole in his coaches. At the end of the line, James left his coaches and got ready for his next train. It was a slow freight, stopping at every station to pick up and set down cars. James hated slow freight trains. Dirty cars from dirty sidings. Yeah! Starting with only a few, he picked up more and more cars at each station till he had a long train. At first, the freight cars behaved well, but James bumped them so crossly that they were determined to get back at him. Presently, they approached the top of Gordon's Hill. Heavy freight trains halt here to set their brakes. James had had an accident with cars before and should have remembered this. Wait, James, wait, said the driver, but James wouldn't wait. He was too busy thinking what he would say to Toby when they next met. The freight car's chance had come. Hurrah! Hurrah! They laughed, and banging their buffers, they pushed him down the hill. On! On! Yelled the cars. I've got to stop! I've got to stop! Groaned James. Disaster lay ahead. Something sticky splashed all over James. He had run into 2 tar wagons and was black from smokebox to cab. He was more dirty than hurt. But the tar wagons and some cars were all to pieces. Toby and Percy were sent to help and came as quickly as they could. Look here, Percy, exclaimed Toby. Whatever is that dirty object? That's James, didn't you know? It's James's shape, said Toby. But James is a splendid red engine, and you never see his paint dirty. James pretended he hadn't heard. Toby and Percy cleared away the unhurt cars and helped James home. Sir Topham Hatt met them. Well done, Percy and Toby. He turned to James. Fancy letting your cars run away. I am surprised. You're not fit to be seen. You must be cleaned at once. Toby shall have a new coat of paint. Please, sir, can Henrietta have one too? Said Toby. Certainly, Toby. Oh, thank you, sir. She will be pleased. All James could do was watch Toby as he ran off happily with the news.
Here are some dots. If we join the dots, we will see one of the engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. I wonder which engine it is. Let's join the dots and find out. Here we go. There's a tender at the back, and there's the cab, and the dome, the funnel. Can you tell who it is yet? This engine's got 1, 2, 3, 4 wheels and 1 wheel arch just in front of the cab. Do you know who it is? It's Edward. Hello, Edward.
One winter's night when the cold wind blew, the engines found it hard to sleep. What we need, suggested Toby, is to listen to a story. Yes, agreed Percy, a mysterious story. But, added Duck, it must have a happy ending. Driver told me a story, said Thomas, so everyone listened. Once upon a time, began Thomas, there were 3 little engines who lived in their own little shed on their own little railway. Their names were Duke, Stuart, and Falcon. Duke was the oldest and was named after His Grace, the Duke of Sodor. He was proud of this and loved to keep the little engines in order. Whenever they did anything that Duke thought wrong, he would say, "That would never suit His Grace." Other engines came and went, but Duke outlasted them all. Stuart and Falcon used to call him Grandpuff. They were fond of him, but they got very tired of hearing all about His Grace. Sometimes they would tease him and chant, "Engines come and engines go. Grandpuff goes on forever." "You impertinent scallywags," Duke would say. "Whatever are you engines coming to?" "Never mind, Grandpuff. We're only young once." "Well, you'd better mind, unless you want to end up like Smudger." "Oh, Grandpuff, whatever happened?" "Smudger," said Duke, "was a show-off. He rode roughly and often came off the rails. I warned him to be careful, but he took no notice." "Listen, Dookie," he snarled. "Who worries about a few spills?" "We do here," I said, but Smudger just laughed. Until one day, manager said he was going to make him useful at last. Smudger stopped laughing then. "Well, why? What did he do?" "He turned him into a generator. He's still out there behind our shed. He'll never move again." After that, Stuart and Falcon became really useful engines, and all 3 were happy together for many years. Then hard times came. The mines in the hills closed, and the railway was closed too. People came to buy the engines. "We'll take Stuart and Falcon." No one wanted Duke. They thought him too old. "Cheer up, Grandpuff," called Stuart. "We'll find you a nice railway, and then you can come and keep us in order." They tried to be brave and cheerful, but no one really thought their dreams would come true. Duke's driver and fireman oiled and greased him one last time. They sheeted him snugly and said goodbye. Then they had to go away and find work. Duke was alone. "Oh well," he sighed, "I'll go to sleep. It'll help to pass the time." Winter torrents washed soils from the hills. Trees and bushes grew all around. You wouldn't have known a shed was there, let alone a little engine asleep inside. "That's not a happy ending," cried Percy. "Ah," murmured Thomas, "there will be one. But that'll have to wait until next time."
Every engine on the island of Sodor looks different. Can you tell who this is? This engine has a tall funnel and a sparkly, shiny dome. What else can we see on this engine? It's the number 5. Do you know which engine on Sodor is number 5? Here's another clue. This engine is bright and shiny and red. There's only one engine on Sodor who is red. Do you know who it is? That's right, it's James. Hello, James. Here are some dots. If we join the dots, we will see one of the engines on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. I wonder which engine that is. Let's join the dots and find out. Here we go. There's a large tender, the cab, and there's the dome. This is a very big engine. It's got a very small funnel. Can you tell who it is yet? Around the buffers and the wheels, it's got lots of wheels. Do you know who it is? That's right. It's Gordon. Hello, Gordon. Thomas, Toby, and Percy are taking some children to their favorite place today. Some are going to the seaside. Some are going to a picnic in the forest. And some of them are going to the ice skating rink. The children have made special flags for their trips. Can you guess who's going where? Here's Thomas. Thomas's children have painted a picture of ice skates on their flag. Where do you think Thomas is taking them? To the seaside? No, you don't need ice skates at the seaside. How about the ice skating rink? Yes, the children in Thomas's car will definitely need ice skates. Now they have arrived at their favorite place, the ice skating rink. Here's Toby. Toby's children have painted a picture of a bucket and spade on their flag. Can you guess where Toby is taking them? Do you think he's going to a picnic in the forest? No, you don't take buckets and spades to the forest. What about the seaside? Yes, the children in Toby's car will need buckets and spades. Now they can build sandcastles at their favorite place, the seaside. Only Percy is left. His children have painted a picture of baskets full of food on their flag. Where do you think Percy is taking them? Could it be to a picnic in the forest? Yes! The children in Percy's car will need baskets full of food. Now they can have a picnic in their favorite place, the forest. Thomas, Toby, and Percy have taken the children to their favorite places. Well done, all of you.
It was a beautiful morning on the island of Sodor. Thomas the Tank Engine's blue paint sparkled in the sunshine as he puffed happily along his branch line with Annie and Clarabelle. He was feeling very pleased with himself. Hello, Thomas, whistled Percy. You look splendid. Yes, indeed, boasted Thomas. Blue is the only proper color for an engine. Oh, I don't know. I like my brown paint, said Toby. I've always been green. I wouldn't want to be any other color either, added Percy. Well, anyway, huffed Thomas, blue is the only color for a really useful engine. Everyone knows that. Percy said no more. He just grinned at Toby. Later, Thomas was resting when Percy arrived. A large hopper was loading his freight cars full of coal. Thomas was still being cheeky. "Careful," he warned. "Watch out with those silly cars." Go on," muttered the cars. "And by the way," went on Thomas, "those buffers don't look very safe to me." The last load poured down. "Help, help," cried Thomas. "Get me out." Percy was worried, but he couldn't help laughing. Thomas's smart blue paint was covered in coal dust from smokebox to bunker. "Ha ha!" chuckled Percy. "You don't look really useful now, Thomas. You look really disgraceful." "I'm not disgraceful," choked Thomas. "You did that on purpose. Get me out." It took so long to clean Thomas that he wasn't in time for his next train. Toby had to take Annie and Clarabelle. "Poor Thomas," whispered Annie to Clarabelle. They were most upset. Thomas was grumpy in the shed that night. Toby thought it a great joke, but Percy was cross with Thomas for thinking he had made his paint dirty on purpose. Fancy a really useful blue engine like Thomas becoming a disgrace to Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Next day, Thomas was feeling more cheerful as he watched Percy bring his cars from the junction. The cars were heavy and Percy was tired. "Have a drink," said his driver. "Then you'll feel better." The water column stood at the end of the siding with the unsafe buffers. Suddenly, Percy found that he couldn't stop. The buffers didn't stop him either. "Oh!" wailed Percy. "Help!" The buffers were broken, and Percy was wheel-deep in coal. It was time for Thomas to leave. He had seen everything. "Now Percy has learned his lesson, too," he chuckled to himself. That night, the two engines made up their quarrel. "I didn't cause your accident on purpose, Thomas," whispered Percy. "You do know that, don't you?" "Of course," replied Thomas, "and I'm sorry I teased you. Your green paint looks splendid again, too. In future, we'll both be more careful of coal."
He's the cheeky one.
James.
His vain but lots of fun.
Percy.
Pulls a mail on time.
Gordon.
Thunders down the line.
Emily.
Really knows her stuff.
Henry.
Toots and huffs and puffs.
Edward.
Wants to help and share.